Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to fold this origami hammer. This is something I made around the same time that I made my origami wrench. If you haven't seen that, you can click up here. And yeah, anyways, this model is something I'm pretty proud of. And yeah, with that being said, grab some paper and let's get folding. Alright, so just for clarity, I'm going to fold using a 10-inch square, but I recommend using about a 6-inch square that will end up with one about this size. This model is easy medium level complexity, but yeah, there are a few tricky reference points, but not too hard. Alright, so let's start this model right side up, and let's valley fold diagonally in half. Alright, now let's unfold, and let's valley fold the two edges to the center line, making a kite base. Alright, now let's bring this point up to this point, and we're going to valley fold all the way across. Alright, now let's unfold, and we're going to rotate, and we're going to do the same thing, bringing this point up to this point. Alright, now let's unfold, and let's hold it this way, and we're going to do kind of a rabbit here. We're going to form this into a mountain fold here, and then this is going to valley fold down here. But you don't want to make a fold down here. We're just going to bring this right back up. Like that. Alright, now we're going to do the other side. It's a little bit different. We're going to bring this over and just fold in the center. And let's take this raw edge and let's pull it out. And let's mountain fold along this diagonal here. And then we're going to kind of squash, just making this a valley fold. And again, we're not going to valley fold down all the way, we're just going to bring this back up. Alright, now let's turn over and let's valley fold this over this way, all the way across. This fold should already be made. And let's turn over, and this is the base for our hammer. Alright, now we're going to start on a little bit more of the details. So we're going to make one of the folds with a bit of a tricky reference point. We're going to valley fold this, and it'll go from the corner until this edge touches this point. So again, it should start at this point as far as it will go, and then it should just line up with that point there. Make sure you're not folding too much where it starts to splay here. Alright, so that's what the fold should look like, and we're just going to turn over and do the same thing with this flap. This one's a bit easier because you can just line up point to point. Alright, now let's turn over. And we're going to make a fold that starts at this point and continues all the way across. So let's take this and let's valley fold down on the point. And try your best to keep it straight across. A good indicator is just try to make this point align with this point. Just make sure they're on the same distance, that they're straight up and down with each other. Alright, now let's unfold, and we're going to open sync it. So let's open up in the middle, and then we're just going to push in on this point. And let's make this a mountain fold here. Let's mountain fold here, and then let's just keep pushing it in, all on the existing creases. Alright, now we have this. Now let's bring this point to this point. Alright, now let's unfold and we're going to outside reverse fold. So open this up, let's valley fold it in, and let's close the model back up. Now we have a bit more of a base for the head. Alright, now we're going to unfold this, and now we're going to make a fold starting at this point through this first layer. And the idea for this fold is that we want this edge to be parallel with this one. And a good way of indicating that is that this point should almost touch this edge, but not quite. So yeah, just trying your best to make these lines parallel. Alright, now let's unfold, and we're just going to turn that into a mountain fold. Alright, now let's turn over, and we're going to do the same thing. So bring this up, and then valley fold. This time you can just align it with the crease behind. Now let's unfold, and then let's mountain fold it behind. Alright, now let's fold this back down, and let's turn over, and let's fold this back down. And now we're going to do something kind of tricky. So let's open this up, just this one layer, and then we're going to put your finger in here and kind of push. That'll push the paper out here. And we're going to make a valley fold between this point and this point while squashing up. So we're just pushing it up, and then we should have this. Then we're going to continue this fold a little bit, not to the very end, just till about here. There's kind of a line forming here. And then what you want to do is you want to valley fold this down this edge to this edge, and not all the way. And then now in here you want to kind of push this out, and then you can see here, let's just take this mountain fold and just make it a little bit lower, and then we're going to make a mountain fold here, and then let's push this in, and then we're going to want to make a mountain fold that goes across here. So let's mountain fold it like that. And it's kind of a matter of fiddling with the folds a little bit in order for it to lie flat. Specifically this hump right here. Maybe I'll bring that back to where it was. And then mountain fold this here. Alright, so that was a little tricky, but it should look like that on the inside. So again, before it was like this, and then you push in here, valley fold this up, and then this gets valley folded down, and then you should see a little hump form here, and then a mountain fold in the center. And then you're going to make this new mountain fold on the side. And we should have that. Alright, now let's turn over. And let's take this point down here and we're just going to push it inwards. And then we're going to valley fold on this crease. And then let's squash fold on, this should be the existing crease. Alright, now it should look like this. If this is overlapping this edge or it's protruding out, what you can do is we're just going to squash fold. So let's push this up. You would fold this up so that it aligns with this crease if it's overlapping. In our case it's not, but just in case yours is, you want to valley fold that up and then squash this side all the way to the point. Alright, and now our model should look like this. And then now we're going to turn over and we're going to do the same thing. I'll do it again just a bit faster. So we're going to open this up here. We're going to take your finger and then push out this part. Then make a fold between this point and this point. And then you can kind of push it out here like you're going to fold it all the way, but you're not. And then you valley fold this edge down to this edge. And again, you're going to kind of make that hump here. And then take your finger here and kind of push it out to make way for that mountain fold here. And then flatten. This part at the top won't lie flat, just to let you know. Alright, so it should look like that. And then now to make this part lie flat, we're going to turn over. I'm going to poke this part in. I'm going to valley fold this over to the right. And then squash fold on this existing crease here. And then if this white part is overlapping this gray part, you can squash fold. So just valley fold this up to where this white part would be if you do have that. And then swivel all the way to the point at the bottom. Alright, and let's close it up. And then now we have the base for our hammer. Alright, now we just have a few more things that we need to clean up before we can start doing the final details. Alright, so first we're going to open up here and we're just going to push this point inward. And you're going to fold on these creases, which is fine. And same here, just fold on the crease and then flatten. Alright, now we're going to work on our handle, make it not so sharp at the end. So let's open up here. Let's open up these two pockets, and we're just going to make a valley fold between these 2 points, just straight up. Also, yeah, this point should align with the main crease, and then just close it back up, and then valley fold in half again. And then now we have a flat bottom. Now you will notice that these lines don't seem the most parallel anymore. So we're going to fix that. So hold the model like this, and we're going to valley fold this up so that this new crease is parallel with this one. And be very careful around here. We're not going to fold all the way here because it's very easy to rip here. And the fold is going to end at this point. It's going to come to a point. It's going to be a diagonal kind of fold. And we're just folding through the hammer just this bit. Alright, let's unfold. And that was our pre-crease. And now we're going to open sink this inside. So let's open up here. And we're just going to make this left one a mountain, just so that they're both mountains. And then this inner bit here should be a valley fold. And then for this top bit, you can just push it in and form a horizontal mountain there. We can also turn to the other side to see how that looks. Should have this kind of V shape in the middle, and then you can close it up. Also, yeah, it might just be easier to work on this side. And then, yeah, just squeeze this inner bit here. And then, yeah, now you can take the whole handle and just flatten it. And now the handle is at least a little bit more slender and a little more parallel. Alright, now let's start actually working on the hammer head. So let's valley fold it at this point here. We're just going to valley fold across. And the edge should match this edge at the top. This edge at the bottom will be a little bit slanted. And then we're going to valley fold out just a little bit. There's no real reference, just enough so that it's noticeable, just kind of like that. Alright, and then now let's mountain fold, starting at this crease here, just where the hammer starts. And we're going to make this edge align with this edge. And then we're going to valley fold out, making a pleat. And again, the valley fold should just be about as far as this one is. So now we have something like that. Alright, now let's unfold and let's turn those pleats into crimps. So we're going to open up, and this first one here is going to be a mountain, and then this bottom one here is going to be a valley. And you can close it up. And then now we have the crimp on the first one. Alright, now let's do the second one. The second one's a little bit harder, just because it's a lot easier to rip the paper, so just be careful when you're mountain folding the lowest one, the one that's closest to the handle. And then valley fold on the existing crease. And then close it up, being very careful around this area because that's easy to break. Alright, now we're going to form a little bit of an indent in this middle bit. So what we're first going to do is we're just going to reverse all of these four corners. So just take this and then just reverse this point inside, just up to the edge. And then we're going to do the same on the other three. Just reverse fold it in here, and then turn over, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. Alright, now we should have this flap in the back, and we're just going to want to mountain fold it inside as far as it will go. And then now you can see we have a bit of an indent there. And then we're going to do the same on this side. Just going to mountain fold this in as far as it will go. And it should also match up with this one behind. Alright, now I have a little indent. Now we can do this bit, but this bit is kind of hard, so I'm going to procrastinate, and we're going to work on this front bit here. So let's mountain fold this in, and then let's valley fold this tip in just to round it a bit, and they should both be the same amount. So when we line it up, it should look like that. And also, yeah, when we mountain fold it in, it should be about the same length as this diagonal here. And then we're going to reverse fold this point in, and again make it about the same length as these ones. Alright, now no more procrastinating, we have to do this hard bit down here. We're going to indent this up, but it's tricky because they're both connected in the center. So what we're going to do is just angling it like this. We're going to push it in, and then you can see on this side we have it as well. And then you're kind of just going to make a dent with your finger in this bit here. And make sure that dent goes all the way to the end of the crease where you can't anymore. And then you can see we have the start of a dent here. And then now we're going to do this side on the right. This side is a bit trickier and very easy to rip the paper. So let's just indent this in. And then you'll see two valley folds starting to form here, and we're going to let them. Let's close it up. And yeah, this side is really not going to want to work with us, so we have to force it a little bit, but not too much because it's quite easy to rip the paper again. Right, there we go. And yeah, the inside should look like this. It should look kind of like a reverse open sink. And yeah, that's kind of what we did. We just open sunk it, and it's just a bit trickier with all the crimps on the side. Alright, now we can finish it up by giving these hammer angles just a bit of flair let's mountain fold this down to some degree. It doesn't really matter how much. And then we're gonna pleat it, and it's kind of a diagonal pleat. It's gonna start at this point and then go out just a little bit, just so that we have some curvature. And then we're gonna do the same here. We're going to mountain fold, trying to match with this one. We can actually unfold this valley fold so that it's a little bit easier for us to match up the creases. Then let's refold that. And we're going to do the pleat starting from this point now. And to line it up, you can just bring this one up to it so that the points at the top should match. All right, now let's turn over, and we have this little bump here which doesn't look the best. So let's turn this way, and we're going to valley fold it up here all the way to the end. And then we're going to valley fold here as well, all the way to this point here. All right, so we have this now, so it's a lot more of a graceful edge, I guess. So it was like this, and then we turned it over, and then we kind of just valley folded these two up, and then made it into a point like that. And now we're going to do it on this side too. So let's valley fold this up, and then valley fold this side up to this point down here. And then now you can see on the other side, it's a bit more of a refined curve there. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do is this is kind of flimsy here, so to lock it a bit, we're going to bring these two together and then open it up this side or this side, whatever's easier. I'm gonna do this side, and let's take this flap and let's just valley fold it inside as far as it will go, just to the edge in the back. And then now it's a bit more locked. And there is your origami hammer. All right, hope you enjoy folding this. And actually, sorry, one more step we can do is just to make this bit just a bit rounder, so we can fold this in with a mountain fold, and then same with this side, we can just kind of smush it in. And then now it's round on all sides. And that is our finished hammer. I hope you enjoyed folding this. I had fun designing it, and in the meantime, have fun folding. Bye.